Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
What we're really doing is we're thinking, do you know who she is? I said, no, I've never met her. And I said, it's from Peter. Like Peter Boyd said, you got to have her on, you got to have her on, you got to have her on. Okay, no problem. I mean, I trust Peter.
When Peter says, right? Like,
yeah, Peter's a good guy. Like, he knows. So I said, yeah, okay, sure. And then this is how bad we are, because we're the most unprepared people on the planet, right? Is we have to now creep you on LinkedIn because I'm trying to think, okay, what the hell does she do? I knew you were chocolate. I knew that much.
Yes.
But then we had to go back and think, okay, who the hell is this person?
Okay, I'm definitely in CPG, so I think it's a good spot.
Well, on any given day, that's up to you to decide.
I think that just makes you as crazy as the rest of us.
Yeah.
I don't know if that is good or bad.
That says a lot more negative potentially about you than not. Anybody who chooses this world, it is chocolate. That's so good for you.
So that's a little bit of a plus.
Sort of. It's a tough category. Like, you picked a tough category too.
Like, I'm a marketer, so what caught my eye, lots of things caught my eye, but I thought the cutest thing, like, so when I went to the GOOD Chocolatier, I got the little pop-up that says, you know, for deals as sweet as you, sign up here.
Come on.
Thought, oh,
that's adorable.
So yeah.
I love that. That is so sweet.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
So you almost feel guilty not buying.
Do you? So you know pretty much just my name right now, and that I'm in chocolate.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So I can pretty much tell you anything, and it's gonna be new to you.
All brand new.
Yeah, you can literally make it up as you go, and
you can make yourself into any persona you want, whatever you feel like being.
That is so funny. Okay.
Yeah. So for the audience, we've got Mara Mennicken. Is that right?
Mennicken, yes.
Yeah, Mara Mennicken on, and she is the GOOD Chocolatier. We don't know a ton about her. What you just heard is we know her. Peter said you must, and we said if Peter says, then Peter gets.
Then we pretty much had to do.
So here we go, and that's kind of all we know. So we know chocolate, we know Mara, and we know highly recommended by Peter, which kind of makes it like, you know, the trifecta for a good episode already. The kind of next 45 minutes is yours, so you could tell us pretty much anything you want, and we believe it. You know, but 45 minutes is yours. We'd love to hear your story. As you start, I've got a headset on. I'm going to go corral my dog because my dog seems to want to just bark intermittently, just enough to be annoying. So I'm going to go corral her, but I can hear you even if you can see me.
Perfect.
That's fine.
Okay. Perfect.
Well, I'll pick up her. So basically, it's 45 minutes of you. Usually what we ask of people, because we've already started recording, like we've been recording since you came on, is just a story. Like, what did you do before? Why did you choose this, or what was the motivation? Like, because we've been in CPG for a million years, we always ask people, because you got to be nuts to go into consumer packaged goods and retail. It's just, I don't think people appreciate how hard it is until they're actually in it. And then a lot of people, I think if they had known that, probably wouldn't have done it. But it's really, it's interesting. We just love to hear that. So for us, that's it. 45 minutes. What do you want to tell us? Love to hear what you're doing. Tell us why Peter's so excited about having you on. And that's it. It's your go time.
Cool. I think the main reason Peter recommended was just the story itself.
Probably.
A lot of people just ask about the background, and we're a social impact driven company.
Cool.
So I think that makes us different from other chocolate companies. We are in craft chocolate, so that's even more niche than just chocolate. But it's really focused on social impact. So we are employment based social enterprise. We hire people with autism to do all our packaging, to do all our e-commerce fulfilling. So it started really, really tiny. If I back up a little bit, how I even got into it.
Yeah, start from the beginning.
Obviously, for the love of chocolate. I was just eating chocolate every single day, and I was born and raised in Germany, and came here for the first time when I was 16 on this exchange program, lived in Burnaby, and then pretty much from 16 to 23, every single year came back until I was like, why don't I move here? I should just move here. I've been here so much. And I went to university, and in the first 2 weeks of that university, there was a farmer's market, and a chocolatier named Pierre was presenting his chocolate bars. Obviously, I ran to him and I had a piece of chocolate, and it was nothing like I've ever tried before. It was my first time having craft chocolate. And obviously, Germany, Belgium, Swiss, there's so much good chocolate, but it's not craft chocolate. Like it's very different in the flavor notes, single origin, and how actually it tastes close to the cacao. So I was just blown away by the flavor itself, but he also had a bunch of things like graphs and tables and explanations of why chocolate is really healthy and cacao is really good for you. And I just had no clue. And I was like, okay, maybe that's why I crave chocolate every day. Great. I got to learn more about it. And I asked him to volunteer. And around 1.5 years, 2 years, I was just volunteering, getting chocolate in exchange while studying. So it was a perfect deal. And he decided to go back to France and move back there. And so he sold his business. And at the same time, I was still studying, and I learned about social enterprises. What I studied is leadership and social impact. And it was really working with marginalized people in society here in Vancouver, how to integrate them back in society, in the economy, not just by giving, not just by non-for-profits, but really integrating so they feel a sense of need and belonging. And so social enterprise was really where it hit the spot for me. And I was like, why is not every single company a social enterprise? The world would be a better place. We wouldn't have marginalized people anymore if every single company would just hire 1 or 2 marginalized people. So I was like, if not, I want to try this. Why not with chocolate? So I took over the chocolate company. Then
so you bought it from him?
Yes. So it was obviously a smooth transition in a sense that I was working with him already,
right,
and I knew the product, but I had no clue about business. I was studying community leadership and social change. It was like opposite from business. But the drive was there to make a social enterprise, and I just wanted to make it work. And then for 1 month before he was leaving, I just followed him every single day, learning about chocolate, learning about business. I even import my own cacao from the States, driving across the border, like all these things. And I was still a student. And so, yeah, a few times I got stopped at the borders, and they were wondering why I'm even doing this. Why is social enterprise? You're not even a Canadian resident. Like, what the hell? But it took some time to really find the foundation. And I think in the beginning, my drive wasn't to make the biggest craft chocolate company and be known everywhere, but it was like proving that you can be a social impact company even as a small company, and not you don't have to be a 2 million revenue company to start to think about giving back. You can do that in the beginning, and that giving back is integrated in your growth. So the more you grow, the more you're giving back, and it just goes hand in hand. So it was just proving that, or testing. I guess I didn't know if it works, but testing if it works. And then when I graduated, I had a chocolate company, but I still had my visitors and work permit. I wasn't a permanent resident, so I had to have a full-time job. I did a full-time job for 1.5 years. And then really since COVID, March 2020, I was community manager at that company. And then that company stopped existing, and I went all in chocolatier and incorporated, and one after another. I was invited to speak at TEDx in 2020 as well. So it kind of went from there. And now we're here with a rebrand, and we're going to be in Whole Foods really soon. And it's kind of at a good level of a foundation where I can say the social impact is there. Obviously, the aspirations of that it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge to be a food brand to begin with, but really having that social impact integrated is not always. The business decisions are always twofold. It's like, is that good for the impact? Is that good for the people am I supporting? Is that good for the bottom line? So it's triple bottom line, which you always have to think about all of them. And that's what keeps driving me too, though, right? I never look back and say oh, I'm not interested in chocolate anymore. For me, it's it's a social enterprise. If it wasn't for the sustainability of it, then I could just be a non-for-profit, but I want to prove that this is something that can work long-term and actually make an impact long-term. So there's no way of quitting.
You took this over in 2017, you started volunteer. 2019-ish, you took it over?
No, 2017, I took it over.
Okay,
and
so
then I
but you
graduated
did a couple
in
years before that.
2018.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. 2015, I came here on a student visa and started just, it was the first 2 weeks I met him. So I pretty much, that was my start here.
I'm pretty much the whole time you've been here, it's been chocolate.
It's been chocolate, yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
No.
And from the get-go, so when you started this in like we said 2017 or 2018,
yeah.
At that point you had already, so let me ask you, the takeover, it was already a company that was doing social impact. So, or did you bring that into the company? And if you did, how did you do that?
I want to say the company was 3 years. Pierre had the company, and it was really a passion project for his mission, and that was also fascinating me because our values were so aligned on that aspect. He just wanted to make the most healthiest and most ethical chocolate. So he went with that chocolate bean and with the manufacturing process. He went to UBC and tested the antioxidant level and how do we keep it, how do we make it more healthy. And he wanted to have more transparency in the fine chocolate industry, that you know where the bean comes from, because when it doesn't say where it's from, it's super unethical. So I guess his whole business was more about how do we make it healthy and ethical. It wasn't so much yet a moneymaker, a brand, a whole business and social impact. It was that was his product development, I would say, was really strong because I knew already, I had those test results, this is actually healthier the way we make it, and it's 100% ethical. But when I learned about social enterprises and he was still here, I just asked him. I was like, hey, have you heard about this? Are you interested? Is it something we could do? Is it something you would be willing to? And because he is very kind-hearted and had already some of these values, it was easy for me to ask. But only when he left and it became my deal, I decided to really make it a social enterprise, and I built the relationships, and I decided what aspect of the business is going to become that employment-based social enterprise, and what type of social enterprise, right? There's, I think the lucky part and not so lucky part was my course that I studied. It was very small. It's nothing fancy. It's not go out in the world and change the world. It's like community leadership and social change. It was about helping your neighbors. So we were just a group of 9 people at Capilano University, and it was just adult students, because younger people just want to go out and change the world. We're like, okay, let's help our neighbors. Who's next to us?
Which is still changing the world.
It is still changing the world.
You brought the scope and manageable and doable.
Exactly. But it's like when you're younger, you don't know that, I would say. And I didn't know that. And I was still young at that point, but I had traveled and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I was new to Canada. So it was interesting to me to help my neighbors, because all of that was new to me too. And so that whole entire program had low enrollment and it didn't exist anymore. And I said, hey, it cannot just stop, because I'm here on a student visa. I have to finish that program. Otherwise I can't stay in Canada. So I had a wonderful professor, and I did my CAP project with her. So I had just one-on-one meetings with her. And my project was a viability project, how to start a social enterprise. And it was pretty much a business plan, a social enterprise plan. How do you combine them? Is it possible? So that was my final project.
So you built a capstone and then used it as your way of, that's actually really cool.
That's very cool.
So I graduated with that plan in hand already. It was very difficult in the beginning, because social enterprises, even then, and we're speaking just 5 years ago, was such a new thing. I was actually so surprised. I had a lot of business student friends. Nobody even in business learned about social enterprises, although enterprise is in the word, right? And I studied community leadership, and we had somebody who spoke about it as a seminar. And there was just one seminar, and I was like, I said, this is this is what I want to do. This is such a sustainable change, because I saw so many unhappy results or consequences of non-for-profits when they don't get funding anymore, right? There's an economic crisis, there's anything happening, the first thing that gets cut is funding.
That goes first.
So, and then people are even worse off than before, because now they relied on that. But we need to teach people how to be sustainable and how to, just have their own employment be integrated. So our mission was never to give back, although that's awesome. I love those companies that also, you purchase this, you build a tree and all of that. But for us, it's integral. We want to hire people because, during my studies, every single, the whole part of it was service learning. So because I was new here, I actually went to a lot of different communities to see what I want to be doing and who I want to be helping. I wanted to learn a lot about different communities, and I worked with seniors, with indigenous people, with homeless people, with people with autism, and all these different communities. And then afterwards, I was asking myself, like, how come such a different variety of people, from single moms to seniors to people with autism, and the same problem, they all had the same problem, and that was that nobody was giving them work, because they were not standard work that they were looking for, and different abilities. And so asset-based community development is based on what can you do, and all of these communities can do something, but they were put in the same bucket of marginalization, which is it's so strange, because they're really, really different kind of people. So I think because I got a good scope of working with different groups, I was I could see the relationship between that and how maybe there is something that I could do. And because my program got canceled, I got one-on-one support. And so when I had the company, and I was sure I want to at least give it a try with a social enterprise, I just went back to all the communities that I worked with during my entire studies, and I told them, it's like, this social enterprise, and they do this, and they're so awesome, and I have a company, and what can we do together? How can I help you? How can you help me? And the organization with Pulse Autism Society, they just said, oh my God, we just had the problem. We're having the problem that we're sending out our people to work, but we don't get enough funding to have one supervisor with one employee going, but they need supervision because some of them can't take the bus alone and go across the city. And there are different issues with going out and getting that funding of working externally. I was like, okay, great. I can bring the work to you then if we solve that problem. And so we started with packaging. It was just
so what do you mean bring the work to them? You actually brought the work to their house?
No, it's a whole organization. So Pulse Autism Society is the organization that I got to know during my studies.
Right.
And I had a chocolate making workshop with a high school, but they also have an adult program. So they're being taught to be more independent in the high school, but some folks are just, they can't go out and live by themselves, and they just get a lot of support in the adult program. But they can work, it's just under very different circumstances. So every day they go into the program as adults even, and they learn computer work, they go take the bus, they do anything that helps them in their
become
everyday
independent.
life. Yeah, so that's a whole whatever facility, and I just go there and drop off the work, and it comes in a sealed package already, so that all happens at facility. But then the outside of the packaging, they just package every single thing.
So they package it, and then because they're in a central area, there's supervision. So that you're eliminating some of the. I guess the only roadblock, if people are going to find a roadblock, I have to physically bring the work to you. But really, how much different is that than bringing someone to the work?
Yes, exactly.
Right. I mean, I guess it's an extra step for you, but obviously for you, it's really not a big deal.
It's an extra step, maybe.
I think it's significant, right? Because you
well, apparently not to Mara, though. I'm with you. I think it's more significant than what Mara's made it. What I'm getting at is when I'm listening to her, it's not.
We're thinking the
for
same
her.
thing.
I'm thinking it's. But I'm thinking, listen, as a normal, as old school business, etc. That is a big deal.
It's a
I'm
big
sorry.
deal.
Most people would say, listen, I appreciate that's what makes sense to you, and that's wonderful. But seriously, you got to come to me. I can't go to you. for you to
what's
do that is
funny?
pretty impressive.
But if you
Though-
look at for-profit, that's exactly the conversation we're
I
having
know.
right now, right? Is
It is.
everyone's like, look, I can do the work from home, and for-profit companies right now are going, no. You have to come back to me. Why do I
Yeah.
have to come back? Because you have to, right? Like, I make the
Just
money.
because.
You gotta come here. It doesn't matter that I got all this profit. Like, you gotta
doesn't
come
matter.
to me, right? Like,
Yeah.
so
You know what's a fascinating thing though
yeah.
about this relationship, and obviously it only works. And since 2018 is when, so 1 year took me to just do business, right? And then in 2018 I was like, okay, let's do the social side now. And since then I've been working with them. What is that for employee retention of a small company? I've never had, somebody from the start until now that still works for me, knows what they're doing, no new training. They're perfect at it. They're just getting better at it. So in terms of what's giving me back, it's exponentially more, because I've actually never had anyone who was packaging it so perfectly, so quickly, so reliably, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's always somebody who can do it. They're getting trained. They're like, do every single little thing perfect. Like I would get so tired of it. Like
But you're giving them, you're giving people who have some challenges, a purpose. I mean, I don't want to diminish it. It's you're saying it very lightly, but it's a very cool thing, and it's not, unfortunately, because obviously it can be done, but it's not the normal way to do it. I hate using those words, but it's just not. I mean, it's not how we do it. Right? You don't think of things that way, right?
I mentioned earlier asset-based community development, asset-based community building. It wasn't me coming to them, I have this problem, you help me solve this. It was me coming to them, what are you freaking great at?
Yeah,
what
can
are you
you
better
do
at than I am?
Exactly.
And they're better at packaging than I am, frankly, right? And there's so many other people I hired beforehand. So it's what are their skills, and just working with their skills, and packaging they're just excellent at. And so they thrive, and they're just, every time I go there, they're waiting for the chocolate. They're so excited to work. During COVID, I was the only employer still giving them job, and they're just always in the Zooms. They were just asking, like, where's the chocolate? When can we wrap chocolate? And they're just so excited to work, and they've never been employed before, and the parents never thought they would ever be employed in their life.
I was thinking, like, even from a parent perspective, because we're both
amazing.
parents.
Yeah.
If you have people that are going to be on, unfortunately, the sort of the sidelines of employment, where it's unfortunate, because whether it's a physical disability or mental disability, whatever you want to call it, it's hard, right? Because to your point, they're capable of doing things. Yeah. You just got to be open-minded enough to maybe find things that people could do. And God bless you for being, obviously, you've looked at it a very different way. That's why I think maybe this is why Peter pushed us, because I mean, it's not, again, the bad choice of words, but it's not normal. It's not the way most people go into business. It's not what you would consider,
right? It's not atypical.
Thank
you.
Yeah. I hate using the word, but yeah, wow.
I think so.
All right. This episode is brought to you by CHFA. Thank you to our sponsors, the Canadian Health Food Association. There's a show coming up, CHFA Now. It's going to be in Toronto. It'll be Thursday, September 21st. And then
through Sunday the 24th.
Through Sunday the 24th. And this show, like, it used to be just, like it was never just a trade show, but lots of people came to walk the show and just see new brands. But the show has just taken on a whole life of its own. Kenny and I were just looking at the number of things, right, that you can and should do at the show. There's stuff going from Thursday the 21st all the way through to Sunday. There's some really big things. The regulatory group is going to go through all the NHP stuff that you've been hearing about: cost recovery, compliance verification, labeling updates, plastic sustainability stuff, all of that stuff. They're going to be going through on the Thursday.
That one, Phil, though, that's for CHFA members and associates only. But correct. It also it's probably another reason why you should really consider becoming a CHFA member anyway.
Yeah. If there's ever a year that you wanted to do it, this is probably the year. because of all these things and the amount of coverage that CHFA has had on this stuff. But then on the Friday too, right? There's Canada, US organic equivalency. There's Think Like a Futurist, so how to turn trends into tangible results, which is super cool. There's gene editing for genetic modification, in case you're worried about that. If you want to think about collagen, there's a session on collagen. There's gut health and the role that the gut plays in immune and mental health. Gosh, there's so many things.
There's tons of stuff. I guess what it is, see, to me, if I look at it from what I was when I was a buyer,
yeah,
when I used to do this show, it really was focusing on the Saturday, Sunday, and it was really about doing this show, right? When I left buying and started going into the other side, which was all sides, it really became much more important to actually know what was going on the, like, for example, on this one, on the Thursday, Friday, because the amount of lecture, the amount of quality lecture you get these days is unbelievable. The show is always going to be the show, and it's always the fun part. And you should be going to CHFA regardless, just because the networking, the fact they'd advocate, the fact that there's just so much cool stuff always happening. But if you really want to take full advantage of the show, you really need to participate. Thursday would be good this year because what the topic is, which is talking all about regulatory, which is just a nightmare this year. And if you really can get up to date on that, get it. But the beauty now is the Friday is packed.
Yeah, there's so
many things to learn and so many things to see. Like, I just think the old days, if you're still of the mindset that the show is just the trade show, you've really got to get off that one. There is so much more that's there. Even at the end of the day, you got CHFA Trends, which last year was Lindsay and Aaron talking about some research they did and all the things they're learning. And then Launchpad follows that, which is really cool. So if you're a small brand and you're not part of Launchpad, you'll see maybe what buyers or what you'll typically get asked that were graded on when you're presenting. And then the social mixer for the member mixer for the social aspect of the evening.
There's
so if you're a member and associate, you get to hang out together, and it's a great way to catch up with people.
There's also Incubator Alley, which is where you get to see all the new brands as well. And so that's a really big thing. I know for retailers, that's a really hot part, but I think for everybody to see what new up and coming brands are, what the new ideas
are. If you want to stay
cool.
atop the natural health industry in Canada, you got to do the two. You got to do this one and you got to do the other. Really and truly, I would really recommend for people to go through. You should really consider becoming members of the CHFA anyway. Like, you really should. You really need to be part of these communities that are out there defending and sticking up for your businesses, because I'll tell you right now, it doesn't look like government's doing a lot to help us. So get on board.
Make sure. So September 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, CHFA weekend.
Yep.
It's here in Toronto. Make sure you sign up. So the link will be in the show notes below.
And we'll see you at the show.
CHFAnow.ca. Make sure you go and sign up, become a member, sign up for the show. Really important to do.
And find us there. We'll see you at the show.
Yeah.
When I just learned about it, I was like, I got to do that. Then I decided to do it. Of course, I learned a lot more about social enterprise along the way, and read all the books and where are different ones around the world and where it's a common thing and where it started. Like, it is a very fresh thing for sure, but there is a lot of amazing companies that do it, and they all have their own little take to it, right? And frankly, like, depending where you are, you got to have a different social enterprise. It's not really something that it can be replicated the exact same way, because different cities have different challenges and different social problems. And so whatever I saw, I can do. And I got a few other companies also to do their packaging with them, so they get a little bit more work. And
I think that's wonderful.
It's a fun project to do that. And I think I'm a type of person that back in the day, I got bored of things very quickly, and I always need to find the new thing. And it was a little bit tricking myself into doing something on the long run if I do something for others. And in the beginning was really just like, I was even afraid myself that eventually I get bored of what I'm doing, because I tried a lot of things, like did the yoga teacher training, came back, wanted to teach yoga, studied sustainable design. And when I came here with 23, I kind of had tried a lot of things already. And I was like, and I got to just stay here and at least get my PR. And it's going to take years. What should I do? So it was doing something for others was also, for me, it's like, I'm never going to get tired of it. it's nothing that's up to me, and I'm just gonna I know that I'm gonna continue. So it's a fun story, and I would say it's a model that a lot of people can implement if they want, and I don't think it has to cut from the bottom line.
No, I don't think it does either.
Social.
Because what I'm thinking, because you've got my mind racing now, because I'm thinking with some of the people I work with or some of the businesses that we actually own and stuff, is there are opportunities to move components back and forth. We don't have anything necessarily as sustainable, like our packaging is different, et cetera, but still. So I don't know if you said, was there a reason you chose autistic versus anything else, or was it a personal thing, a family thing?
I always just thought it's not that connected, because I feel like some people who really supported of the brand, they have either a child that neurodiverse, either a cousin or somewhere related in the family.
Right.
I always thought, like, my reason was just that it worked, and I reached out to all these organizations, and they were like excited and they were thrilled, and they're like, you're going to solve a problem, we can do this together. And it was just a great match.
It was a good fit.
For me, it didn't matter who I'm going to be working with, but I knew all these organizations who have some troubles, and for me it was just finding the right match. But then later on, actually, when I talked to my grandma, for example, in Germany we have these whole workplaces that is just for neurodiverse people and physical disabilities as well. So it's factories, actually. So they do factory work, they come there every day. It's, they're supported with everything they need, but it's putting together little things and like working every day in the factory. It's quite common in Germany that people do get jobs like that. And I actually forgot about it. And then my grandma reminded me and said, like, oh, yes, we talked about these factories in Germany, and then you liked that, and then you started your social enterprise. And I was like, oh, Grandma, I don't know. I don't remember that it happened that way. But like now that you say it, there is obviously something that maybe also I knew from before that,
it sticks with you, right? And your grandma can't be wrong, right? So you
definitely not. No.
Bottom line is this: even if it's not true, it's true. Because grandma said it, so you're
it's got to be true.
It's got to be right. Yeah.
I said, thank you, Grandma. Now I have a company because of you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Feed me, take care of me, and give me a business.
Yeah. But it's all the different reasons, right? It can be a personal reason. Like often social enterprises happen out of personal problems. But it was just I wanted to find a good fit, and
it was a good fit. Like they actually were interested. They were willing to play, and it fit what you needed, which is, God, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Really
and
cool.
I think though with Peter as well, when we met, I think CHFA was actually, I was there this year the first time.
Oh,
and
cool.
It was just like,
which one, out west or out west?
The west. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he came, I just signed with the distributor and the broker at that time, and they came by with Peter, and he said, okay, give me a 30-second pitch. And I gave a 30-second pitch, and then he's like, okay, gonna take it. And then he put my chocolate in the store, and I was like, okay, great. That was easy. That was quick and efficient. Perfect. And I don't think we connected so much even on the social aspect yet. Of course, it's part of it, but it's also just a great product, and it was never like, here's the social impact side. Even with my newsletter list, let's say at the time was maybe 1,000 people. I asked them in surveys, what is the most important, because we're like
chocolate needs to be
gluten-free, soy-free, cane sugar-free.
Yeah.
We're organic. We're refined sugar-free. We're compostable packaging. We're fair trade, and pretty much 15 different things that we could focus on. And social enterprise was never one of the top 5. It was just something that kept me going, and that was the main mission and the good story. But the main thing was always taste. It makes
everybody wants a good chocolate. That's
everyone wants a good chocolate, and a chocolate that sometimes people came back to me and they said, Mara, how come when I eat your chocolate, I just feel great afterwards? I never feel like a sugar low. I never feel, or feel guilty about it. It's just cacao itself is so damn healthy. It's good for the mind. It's good for the heart. It's good for the gut. But the way it's processed these days, it's actually burned, it's over processed. We have nothing of these antioxidants left anymore. When you go to Brazil, I host chocolate making workshops and cacao ceremonies, and sometimes I have I have participants, and one Brazilian girl said, when I go to my doctor in Brazil, he prescribed me to eat cacao. It's still a medicine there. So in other countries, right, it's over 5,000 years ago that even cacao was used by the Mayans, by everyone. It was medicine. And so if we keep it pure, light roast and all these things, there is actually still, not just in the spiritual, it's actually on the physical level. It's fermented, it's good for the gut, healthy gut. But obviously if it's more sugar than cacao, then...
But that's like anything, Mara, right? If you look at any of the old stuff, like Phil's a Chinese heritage, I'm Russian and Italian, you're from Germany. All the old cultures have been doing things for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Once you bring it into the modern world and over process anything, all the goodness, like coffee is good for you until you burn the hell out of it, or over roast it, or over sugar and milk it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like everything at its pure source.
Yeah, 100%. Sort of
what nature kind of intended it to be is what it should be.
100%. And what chocolate makes, I would say, us different from also other craft chocolatiers is the light roast aspect. And in coffee, we all know dark roast now, also bulletproof and light roast coffee.
I hate
10 years
coffee.
ago, I didn't know about light roast coffee. I just thought coffee is coffee. And so light roast, medium roast, dark roast, completely different in the nutrient content and effect. And in chocolate, why don't we say if it's light roast, medium roast, or dark roast, the same thing? If it's dark roast, there's none of the antioxidants left. There's none of the good hard stuff left. So we write on it, it's light roast, and not a lot of companies, actually no company does that too.
Because most people won't understand it.
No, won't take the time
to be honest with you.
Light roast.
You have to do the education on that. So unfortunately,
it's always flavor and stuff, and that also actually differs. Now that, like, since I'm in chocolate, wherever I go, I obviously visit the chocolate factories. And I was just in Iceland in the beginning of the year. The Omnom chocolate is a craft chocolatier, and even in Germany, I've just visited some. And the main difference actually in kind of the more European, right, which is the greatest chocolate in the world, is that it's always flavor and texture and like the art and the melt, and like it's just, I would say it's really like French patisseries, like it's like the art of it. But it doesn't matter if there's soy lecithin, it doesn't matter if it's not organic or not for fair trade. If you go to craft chocolatiers here on the West Coast, Northwest Chocolate Festival is coming up in October. It's 250 different craft chocolatiers from America, and all of them are fair trade and organic, because that's how you sustain the industry. So it's more about even the background and how healthy it is, how it's roasted, whereas European is more like the surface and the melting and like the beauty. And both is delicious and both is awesome, but there's a difference there also. What here it goes a bit deeper, which I so appreciate. Yeah.
So how do you tell people this though? So like because I guess my thing would be on this is, trust me, we're sold. We both like chocolate. He's on the East Coast, like I'm on the West Coast. I love chocolate, and I'm not a milk chocolate fan. I like dark chocolates. I like more cacao than I don't want the sugar. I don't need all the shit in it.
Committed foodie people. We love it a lot. We love food a lot. We love great food. I don't know what they are, but we have a friend on Sarah. She runs on Sarah's all the way out in Newfoundland, and then you know, Kenny's mother always gets shipments from her, because we don't really. She loves chocolate, and we don't care. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we're all there, like we're all in. But what? Like, this is all new to me, right? Like, because I always thought chocolate was, it was either just stuff I liked and what I didn't like.
It's making me look at European chocolates different right now, which I really love.
Making me look at all the chocolate.
Now I'm thinking I'm a bit of an ass for eating European chocolate. I better figure this out. I think I've gone down the wrong path. Apparently,
it depends on how you want to make an impact with your purchase or not.
Well, now I have
you just want to make an impact on your taste buds, and that's fine. But so the question is how to get to the chocolate.
I guess I think my thing is, like, I guess if I'm looking at, you got 250 chocolatiers coming up, right? I've never heard of this, and it's not because of anything. I mean, I'm in the food industry, but not all aspects. But I never heard of it. I didn't realize there's that many artists and people who are doing, fair trade / organic. So what I guess I'm getting at is and we're pretty, like him and I can consume chocolate. I love good chocolate. I really do. Just like I like good coffee, which is why I hate the coffee in our city. because most of the coffee in our city is shit. Right. But that's okay. That's a whole different podcast. But I really do like a good chocolate. But how do I know
if it's a good one?
Well, okay, because if you guys don't tell me all these things that you're telling me now, how do I know?
So you just look at the packaging. There's many things that I can tell you right off the bat that when you find a certain thing or don't find a certain thing, it means it's quality or not. There is obviously ingredients, right? You gotta get and see fair trade, organic. If it's a craft chocolate, actually often it's not certified, but craft chocolate, if it says where the cacao is from, most likely it's fair trade from small farms, because the cacao that is from West Africa, where all the European and all the chocolate is made from, where it doesn't say the origin, that's around 95% of all our cacao, 90, not 95, it's unethical and it doesn't say where it's from. The other 5% is from small scale farms that are permaculture, they support each other. So where if you see the origin, it's just like a red wine or wine where it says the grape and it doesn't say the grape. I would not buy a wine where I don't know where the grape is from because it matters. The terroir is all where the flavor comes from.
Well, every region and every grape. Okay, so the same thing. So when you're buying, like let's pretend it's an olive oil. Like you can get, monocultivar olive oils, which, let's true Sicilian olive or a Tuscan or something from Liguria, or if it's from Spain, I don't care where the olive is from, but each region will have its own distinct flavors, and you blend at times because you want to mellow it out or whatever that means. Is it the same with cacao then? Like, so if I was, I think Peru has cacao, right? So does Brazil. So does like all the coffee growing countries.
Exactly. Coffee belt.
So just as I'm assuming each coffee bean has obviously got some different nuances, the cacao would be the same. So if I'm having a Brazilian, is that a lot different than a Peruvian or?
Yes. There is two main strains that are Criollo, Forastero, Trinitario. And the strain I'm using is Criollo. That's around 5% of the world's cacao. It's super hard to grow, really low yield, and you can't really monoculture it because cacao needs the coconut tree for the shading, the banana tree needs the other trees around to really get that flavor profile and actually to grow well. And even then, it's really low yield. Then you have the Forastero, which is the one in Africa. Right. And they brought it over there and they made it really resistant, crossbred it to make it really resilient, and obviously monoculture. Now all of Ghana is just 90% of the economy is just cacao. Great. The problem is obviously pesticides and all of that stuff and not having any power over prices. But so you have that type, and then there's Trinitario, which was brought over to Trinidad when big floodings happened and the whole Criollo local got wiped out. And then they brought the Forastero over and paired it with the Criollo to make a half resilient but not as flavorful bean. So you have 3 strains all around the world, which they say something about the flavor profile, and something about the bitterness level, and something about whether it's going to be fruity or nutty, more in the direction. And then you have, just like you said, Brazil, Peru, it's going to be different because it develops the flavors from what grows around.
Right. So elevations, foliage, close to the ocean, far from winds, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And then the most important step is actually the fermentation, right? A lot of people don't know it's fermented.
I didn't realize it was fermented.
I didn't know it was fermented.
So it's a fermented food, great for your gut. If you eat raw cacao all day, it's really good for you. So in the fermentation,
what I just heard is I need to replace my yogurt with cacao.
Cacao.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm done.
So replace. Well, I heard. I didn't hear add to it. I heard replace, and I'm totally good with that. I like it.
I'm out. I'm good.
All I heard.
Mostly when people visit my workshops, what they learn is I can have chocolate for breakfast, and I get that get healthy.
That's all I heard. I'm thinking.
That's what I heard
Dr.
too.
Mara say. Dr. Mara said we can have chocolate for breakfast. We don't need yogurt. I'm pretty sure that's what she said.
That's actually going to be the header of this podcast.
So cacao nips to your yogurt, and obviously it's going to be great. It's also really good for your mind, just like your coffee and all of that has a dopamine, serotonin releaser. So it's going to make you happy, concentrated, and healthy gut. Like it actually, if you eat raw cacao, you just feel good from it. But so the fermentation process is after the harvesting. When you open the pod of the cacao, it has a fruit flesh. And so now a lot of other things that we ferment, we actually feed, right, with like your salts and your sweets, like kombucha and sauerkraut and stuff. We need to
yeast and
feed
blah,
with
blah, blah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So cacao ferments in its own fruit pulp, and the fruit gets the flavors from the plants growing around.
Right.
So now the fermentation process is 5 to 6 days, and that's when the flavors from the fruit get into the seed. And so it gets fermented and for a few days, and then the flavors is really what the other plants around it bring. So mine have like citrus notes, bergamot notes, some banana notes, because that's what grows around it. And you taste it the most if you have raw cacao beans compared. So usually I get people to try like one of each of the main strains.
And so you're talking raw before fermented or after fermented?
I talk raw after fermented. I know
Okay.
there's super raw foodies who would say fermentation is already not raw, but in terms of health benefits, actually the fermentation and the heating increases the benefits.
Well, with us, we're good. Fermented grapes. I like the grapes after the fermentation a lot better. So we're all good.
Same. And you know what? The fermentation and like all the terroir, right? That right now, one of my passions is just to go to the Okanagan and find the right local wines with my cacaos and do a pairing, because that's where the flavors, right? There's
my God, you're making me so hungry.
In both. And so some wines it's an experience. It takes you through these layers and layers because the way it's fermented and because the way it's made craft way. And cacao has the same. The first flavor is different than the second, is different than the afternote. And that's craft chocolate only. So if you pair a wine, and it's just so fun. It's so fun to find the right notes, and some of them don't taste good together at all. It actually makes both taste really bad. And some of them are like the flavor just comes out like crazy.
Just pops.
Wow.
So there's lots craft chocolate, I would say. Clean ingredients, it's fair trade, you know where the bean is from, because we pride ourselves in where the bean is from. It matters for the flavor. We'd never say not where the bean is from, right? It makes a huge difference.
Okay.
And it's got to have cacao butter. So if we go back to how do you see if it's a good chocolate, on the back of the ingredients, cacao butter.
Butter.
What happens to commercial chocolate, so if you have your bean after fermentation, it gets lightly roasted, and then the butter gets taken out, cold pressed, just like oils and nut butters and stuff. You can heat it up. Obviously, most companies like Nestle would heat it up crazy and then take the butter out. The butter of the cacao bean is actually the most expensive part of the bean. So what happens? It gets sold to other industries, to hair, skincare, and hair. And what gets put in? Cheap palm oil, soy, wax, anything to imitate the fat structure of the cacao.
Yeah.
But it's impossible, because cacao fat gets crystallized. And that's the tempering process that makes it so dense, and the snap, and makes it, when it gets sun exposure, right, then it starts blooming because the crystal break. But other fat cannot be crystallized. So from the step of selling the cacao butter and putting something else in, it's no longer chocolate, because you imitate every single thing in the process.
But you've killed it, right?
You've taken everything that's good in it that makes the chocolate out, and there might be some, let's say 90% dark Lindt. People are like, oh, I did Lindt 90%. That's really good for me. It's really dark. But if the good stuff is taken out and you have like a cacao paste that's left with no more butter,
it's just pure crap.
It's just there's
mostly
not much
90% pure crap.
It's and
not to pick on Lindt, but it doesn't matter. It's all of them.
And I said it, to be clear. I said it. Mara didn't say anything, so.
But I didn't want her to say it either. I'm with you, Phil.
No.
It just sounds like it's just
the industry is going to be all salty about it.
Whatever.
This guy said it, so
Yeah, you can blame both of us. I don't care either, because I think that's what we're always trying to do. Like I see. So now I know I'm going to look for Origin.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look for cacao butter.
Yeah. Great.
And if she don't got both, she not too good. We got to find somebody else. So in our city, because he's in Toronto, so it doesn't matter about him. But in our city,
some in Toronto too.
I know, but don't worry about him right now. Let's focus on us. So in our city, how many craft people do we? Is this a big industry like in Vancouver or in Canada in general?
I would say so. There's around 25 chocolatiers, like small scale craft chocolatiers. but I would say not all of us focus on really that, you know, gourmet kind of fancy craft chocolate where the bean is all that matters. I would say we're a good 5
That's
that
it
do
in our
that
city.
here. But there's a store as well in New Westminster, Cacao Origins, where you get like all the craft chocolate from around the world. And I would say my mission and why sometimes my product is very difficult to get into retail is because a craft chocolate, if you go to Northwest Chocolate Festival, there is no chocolate bar that's below $10 US, right? Craft chocolate is like a good red
It's expensive.
wine.
I get it. It's
you can't make it for $10. It's just.
But you also don't sit and eat it in 15 seconds like you
no,
would.
You eat one piece and you're like.
And then you enjoy it, and then you go back and you
minutes.
go back. So really, it's the same
Exactly.
price per amount
So
you're going to eat in a serving.
The perception, though, from somebody who goes into a regular supermarket and tries to look for the craft chocolate and suddenly sees all your $4 pieces and a $10 piece, you're like, and you have no clue about what the difference is. You're like, not in the world can there be such a big difference. You're kidding me, right? So it's and that's the norm in craft chocolate. So we are trying to find a sweet middle path where we can sell to retail and find a price point that's not $10. Ours $8.95 is obviously also up there, right? For like a gourmet piece, it's a treat. You don't buy it every day, but it's more than your everyday chocolate. And so I would
maybe
say
that's the catch, though. Maybe that's the slogan. It's more than your everyday chocolate.
It's more than your everyday. 100%.
You know what I mean? Like I think that's what I guess we were coming back to. Sorry, Mara. What we were coming back to from a while ago is trying to understand, like, how do you educate? Because to your point, not everybody in the world is going to listen to this podcast or have a chance to talk to you. Not everybody's going to get to a Peter, and a couple other names we're going to give you in 2 seconds. We're going to ask you your distribution in a moment. But I hit the store and I'm going to see an expensive bar. Let's say it's a Lindt bar. Let's use them. And they're like $4.99 for 100 grams or 85 grams or $5.99 or whatever they are. And then I'm going to see you at $8.95, $9.95 or whatever for how big? 50 grams?
45
Oh, do you see what I mean? So now my mental math is going, okay, so half the size, double the price. Now I'm thinking, well, shit, this is like 4 times more expensive than like how, so what we were getting at is, how do you get people to say, holy shit, okay, really, if I go to gram, it's $20 for the same as that $4.99er.
Yeah.
And I thought the $4.99 was a good chocolate until about 15, 20 minutes ago.
If they have cacao butter in there and they have an origin, it might still be okay. You can eat it
but we know that that's not true. So we're going to move on from that one.
Yeah.
I think once I'm in the store, there's always customers who look either for the best product, for the most expensive product, and sometimes that goes hand in hand. I wanted the best product. What is the most expensive, right? And then you go down. Actually, it's like, okay, this is the most expensive. Let me check what it is. So once I'm in the store, I would say the difficulty is not as big, but for me, it's more educating the retailer, because they say, no, my customers don't want to pay that price. But they don't know the chocoholics. A chocoholic knows their chocolate and are most likely not just addicted to Snickers and whatever. There is a whole industry out there that craft chocoholics, and they just want that gourmet piece, just like a good wine connoisseur you find in every neighborhood, right? In all friendships, you'll have like a guy who loves the wine, and you have that with there is a lot of people out there, and they're already educated, and they go to the Northwest Chocolate Festival and to all the chocolate things. I would say it's not as loud and proud as like vegan and all of these other industries, right? It's more like, okay, I have a good piece of chocolate, and it's still not your everyday chocolate, but there is enough people out there that want to treat themselves once in a while with a good piece. Once a week, I'm going to buy this chocolate. It's a great gift. It's like the branding also, it's like screams West Coast. It has like Banff inspired, Whistler inspired, Vancouver Island inspired, and frankly, a lot of people want to just bring it home. I want to bring a piece, of Canada that I can put in my suitcase and bring it back home with me. And so definitely tourists as well would eat it. And then once you get hooked on craft chocolate, you kind of can't go back, because everything else tastes like shit.
Tough to go back.
You
I
eat
bet,
it,
yeah.
and you're like, what is this? This doesn't even, hit the spot anymore. Like so that is after a workshop, even you get like 4 chocolate bars and 10 chocolate bar samplings. A lot of people are ruined for life. They're like,
But I think,
but that's
I think
okay.
It's interesting. Sorry, I just think I think that it's an interesting combination, right? Because your education and then your commitment to surprise and delight. Like I think those two things, because I think that the thing about chocolate, like with coffee, it's sort of the same thing, but we just kind of decide we don't care, right? As you drink it because you like it, you like the taste of it, the experiential. But with chocolate, there's a reason why you actually, you know what I mean? Like the health benefit to, it's kind of like, it's not the same, right? Like you eat quinoa because it's good for you, right? But you don't
But it's not a treat.
You don't eat
No,
quinoa
not an
because
indulgence, right?
God, I
It's
love
just
quinoa.
because
Like when I finish eating quinoa,
Find
I
the
feel
quinoa
warm and
for
fuzzy and
breakfast.
joy inside, right? You have to walk away going, I did something good for my body, right? Like it's but chocolate or cacao could actually be, listen, like not only is that, 45 gram, for $10, $11, it's not only that it's the most expensive, but it's also really good for me.
it's good
Like
for you.
I think
It's
there's
good for
like
Yeah.
there's
Totally.
when you've got that combo, it's actually quite a powerful combo, right?
It's just
Because people
making sure
actually,
that you can actually
yeah,
tell people
yeah,
that combo exists, because I think for the most part, to what you just said, Phil, I don't think that's where we typically go.
correct.
Most of us
Yeah.
drink or eat chocolate, and probably not the best chocolates, because it's tasty and chocolate just makes you feel good because it's an indulgent, right? Now, if I could have a really good tasting chocolate that also had like all the help, like a good cup of coffee. Coffee is okay for you. Coffee is an antioxidant as well. I mean, until you burn the shit out of it.
Exactly. If you buy quality coffee. Exactly. And that's how I drink my coffee too, though. I can't go to
that's,
drink
like my
coffee
favorite,
anymore.
like I like our espresso because we do a medium roast. Like we don't do a dark roast.
Yeah.
We do a dark roast for the city because the city doesn't understand coffee. The city drinks highly acidic, highly burnt coffee. It's all crap. Like it really is sad. The city's got shitty coffee. Got a lot of coffee shops, not great coffee. Like where a typical espresso is actually just light to medium roast.
Exactly.
It's not burnt.
Yeah.
Right. And it does use different beans, and that's the purpose of it. It's to, you get the benefits out of it.
I think, and you don't know until you try it, right? That's with so many things. Like when I never tasted a light roast coffee before, I didn't know it can have these flavors,
Lots
right?
of
I had
flavors.
no idea.
The nuance, the notes are amazing, or can be.
Yeah, can be, exactly. And so with chocolate, I think once a person tries, and I mean, that's why I'm hosting the chocolate making classes, right? And we started like a lot of YouTube videos that we can like explain stuff and like, what is even raw chocolate? Why is it light roast? And do these things. But in retail, that's obviously difficult. People just need to see it and love it, and it looks different and cool. And it does. Yeah, they got to try it, and there's a lot of outreach. But I would say the chocolate making workshops is where I get my lifetime customers.
Yeah, the ones aren't going to go back,
because they're like, oh my God, you blew my mind. I had no idea about any of this, and I can't ever go back to regular chocolate. No. And I always encourage though to try other different brands. So if you go back to what's good in Vancouver, there's Kazama chocolate. These guys actually do traditional, nice one recipe, different beans around the world. So one of them is actually they're 4 guys, and one of them is Filipino, and they have a farm in the Philippines, and they started to grow their own cacao. So now they are on Granville Island, and they have different beans from around the world. And they just, chocolate industry is so sweet. Also, we're competitors, but it's really, chocolate is such a happiness and such a lovely product. And craft chocolate is so small. If we all support each other, it's a big market.
If you guys could all kill it if you work together.
Exactly. So Kazama chocolate, definitely, I would say in Vancouver. And then there is Soma chocolate in Toronto.
Yes, love those
Soma
guys.
is great.
Love those guys.
They do work. Kazama and Soma both work with the origins and make it really incredible, so you can taste the difference. What we do is a bit more up on the health, and we don't use refined sugars and soy and gluten. So ours is actually sweetened with coconut sugar, local honey, maple syrup, and you feel it. Like I have a pretty like clean diet, I would say. I don't eat tons of refined sugars, so I feel it right away when I eat like so much chocolate. Although I love the flavors, the sugar just hits me, and it kind of ruins the experience afterwards a little bit for me.
Right.
And I would say I'm not the only one who doesn't eat, tries not to eat refined sugar. And so the coconut sugar gives an amazing flavor, but also you never have an energy crash. You eat it and you feel energized and you don't feel the down. It's a very comfortable feeling for working. So when I was a university student going back to, and I found raw chocolate that Pierre made. And every day, instead of coffee, I was just eating chocolate. And I don't get big. I just feel focused. I get a good mind. Like, it was just so great. I was happy and focused, and I could work all day long. I never got tired.
I choose to hear raw chocolate and coffee, not raw chocolate, no coffee.
All I heard is raw and I am all over the spectrum. I heard breakfast, and I heard I didn't need yogurt. I heard so many things.
Yeah, that's what I
am all over this podcast.
Well,
this is going to be a cheap purchase because I don't have to eat anymore practically in the morning. Cup of coffee, a little bit of chocolate, baby.
Exactly. And you're going to feel great about it. Yeah. So there's lots of cool things. I think I find cacao just fascinating, where it comes from, the history, and really how to bring it back to that. And I would say I used to go to the Zuma show here. It's a lifestyle expo for 55 plus. The way I talked to people there was, I didn't even have to explain, like in the beginning was very much me explaining 20 minutes what this product is. And then somebody would be like, amazing, I'm going to buy it. Zuma show was, okay, I would say like, okay, chocolate is healthy. Okay, yeah, I eat chocolate every day. Can I buy it? And it's a generation where chocolate wasn't ruined yet, right? So they grew up with chocolate that was actually still more real chocolate. I grew up with sugar and Nesquik and whatever. It's also, my target market is like 45 plus is my, prime.
I'm the Zuma baby. I can go there. I'm over 55. Those are my people.
And
I'm going to that one.
Questioning, and they're like, just of course I eat chocolate every day, and they don't even feel bad about it and stuff. It's just like what happens right after, and now bringing that back. I mean, it's not like we're doing something completely new. We're just keeping it clean again, right? And
I think that's the trick, though, Mara. Is more of how you started the company and everything. You're keeping it very simple. You're trying to do good things. You've got a more challenged group of people that will typically have a hard time finding employment, and you're giving them employment. So like you're doing it all the way through. You're looking at a commodity that has been really bastardized, and you're pulling it back and taking it back to what it could be and should be. So your whole ethos works.
It does work, yeah.
For what you say and what you do, which is really cool. So good for you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The one thing about that, it's a very solid product. And I mean, chocolate, people will always eat chocolate. It's like it's recession proof. That was also part of my capstone. I found out I need a product that's recession proof, because if the economy goes down, I still want to employ these people, because otherwise
they eat more chocolate if it goes sideways.
Eat more chocolate. So I was like, I need something it's going to be there no matter what. But the one downside, I would say, and it's not necessarily downside, like it's a very healthy, slow, sustainable growth, right? Some people would say that's the optimal. You want to be in that space, and it's great for sure. It's always going up. It's very, very, I guess it has such a strong foundation because there's so many good aspects to it, but it's never going to be, the next product that explodes everywhere and it's going to be big very quickly. So sometimes I think personally, I'm just struggling with I want to go faster, but it's also, there's so much behind it, in the education, and so that makes it, just
I hate to tell you what happens, speed can kill things.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you look at fine wines, fine liqueurs, fine whiskeys, those categories take long time to grow. And there's a reason for it, because it also caters to a very different type of people. It doesn't, you can cater to anybody, but you got to be willing to either, you have to have money, or you have to be able to look at your money and say, listen, this is expensive, but it's like an olive oil. If you use shitty products when you cook, you tend to use more of it, because there's never the flavor. There's never it never works. So we use more than you have to. So really, you don't save money. We use more. So in your industry, it'd be the same, right? If you have it as pure as you can get it, 45 grams is the equivalent to 150 or 200 grams of traditional mainstream chocolate. But I think it's just getting people, once they get to that, they get it. Right?
Yeah.
So if you ever need help on things like that, you can always bug us.
Cool.
I mean, we've been doing this for years.
The last breakfast series, I was there, and I think I messaged you LinkedIn. I saw you were talking about margins and all of that. It was just so funny. It was just hilarious because I worked with somebody from the owner of Naked Naturals. You know, the sauces, and so I met him like in my studies randomly, and then I was like, hey, I have a business, can you help me out with something? And I would say he's the margin master, and we went through like things, and like every single thing needs to be a good fit. And whatever you were talking about, I like thought back, I was like, yeah, I had no clue in the beginning, like how many things. He's like, even this has got to be your waste percentage, inflation percentage. This is going to happen, you have to have it in there.
Yeah, you have to build.
That changed my whole like margins for sure.
It takes you from no profitability and not sustainable to potentially sustainable and profitable. I mean, that's the trick is you still want to make some money at this, right?
Totally.
I mean, if you want to give it all away, that's your prerogative, but you can't give away what you don't make. So you got to make something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was great. It was a great talk too.
My battery's going to die, you guys, and I got no plug. Where are you? If I want to go out and buy you, like, just give me 4 or 5 stores. Let's say in like Peter, 4 or 5 stores in the province, and then maybe do Ontario. And if I lose you guys, Phil, just continue on.
Yeah, you got it.
I'll never make it downstairs in time.
So our shop is actually inside Greens Market on West Broadway. So you can see us, and we have like truffles and really specialty things. You can go chat with us. So that's the non-retail space. It's Greens Market. We're going to be in Whole Foods BC starting September, October. And then for people on Vancouver Island, there is the Market Garden, is a massive store, which is a whole wall of chocolate, and it's pretty good there. Then we have North Vancouver, Foxy Farm. I would say it's a kind of small store, but the best thing is to go on the store locator on our website and just type in your postal code and check it out. We obviously do online things, and it's going to be fulfilled by our sweet people at Pulse, and we ship Canada wide. In terms of retail, we haven't expanded to other provinces. Hopefully, if Whole Foods goes really well, that could be one deal. Right now, we work with distributor Simply Canadian, and I would say, and our broker is Freelance Marketing, so they go to other provinces, but our distributor does not. So we just signed with them in March, and I would say we sell in 20 stores now in BC. Like, it's not really massive, but online you can always just sign up newsletters. We write really sweet and good newsletters, and you get a discount, and so online is always good to learn about us and find the special deals.
So the goodchocolatier.com. And then, so for someone like me in Ontario, that's how I get this chocolate, right? Is I could order it online?
Order it online. Yeah, that's the best.
Or Kenny could order it online and ship it to me.
That also works. If he has really good shipping deals.
And you know what? He doesn't have any sound right now. This is perfect. So what the audience doesn't know is he's saying yes, he's going to ship me stuff. So it's awesome. I love it.
I heard Phil was asking me to ship chocolate for free. I got that message. I mean, I heard the same thing about breakfast as I heard about this one.
Yeah.
The thing is, because at this time of year, the challenge is that it's so bloody hot. Unless you're going to cold chain it, it's going to be interesting to get it to you.
But it's Canada.
I can go get it every day.
Give it a couple of weeks. It's Canada, so give it a couple of weeks, and it'll arrive frozen. It'll be fine.
I think I'm actually sometimes surprised, like the small packages. It's not like they're outside in the sun, and if chocolate is tempered well, it can also sustain like 25 degrees. It's not going to melt right away if it's good chocolate. And I actually only ever one package came back, and there was vegan white chocolate. And that is just a whole different melting point and ball game. So those ones I don't ship out anymore. But everything else is actually really cool shipping service. Also, it's I think Montreal based, Machuel.com that I use. It's super convenient and quick, and it's like next day kind of thing.
If you get a next day, you're fine. It's what you don't want is sitting in Canada Post or somewhere for a week.
Yeah, no more Canada Post for me. It's just so expensive and so slow.
Yeah, it's not good for it. And like I said, in the winter months it's fine, but not this time of year.
It's funky how sometimes there's some stuff just because Canada is so big, we just pay the price for it. We actually looked for, that's a whole different topic, but even going from like flights, obviously everyone knows interprovincial like used to be crazy expensive, and booking a flight from here to Germany was increased during COVID, and was suddenly like $1,500. And then we put the same exact dates, and we put from Germany to Canada, and suddenly it was half the price. The exact same price, the exact same flight, but different direction. And
must be because ours is taxed to death.
Yeah,
the flight was $500. The taxes were $500.
It is.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
Crazy sometimes.
It's ridiculous.
So, yeah, gotta find the loopholes how to make things easier. Yeah.
Mara, we're out of time. Thank you for doing this. I learned so many things
a ton
about chocolate. It's so fantastic. If people want to be able to find you, we've given out your website. I'll make sure I list it, and then I'll actually put it in, because I did find the Northwest Chocolate Festival, so I'll put that link into the podcast notes as well. It's November 7th and 8th, Kenny.
Oh, here?
Is it this year? Actually, Seattle. I think this year it might be in October.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's October 7th and 8th, 2023, and it's in
Seattle.
It's in Seattle, in Bellevue. Yeah.
So you know what? Because you might be coming down at that time anyway. We might be doing a run to the Okanagan to meet Peter, like live, to do some stuff with him.
Oh, so nice.
We'll head down to Bellevue for some that.
It's just a hop, skip, and a jump, and if we have some chocolate, some cacao for breakfast, maybe, and a little bit.
We
eat it. It would keep us awake. We don't need to drink coffee. I'm all good. Like
exactly.
Drive for hours.
If you ever have a long day, and you're just standing the whole time, like markets and trade shows, I eat chocolate, and I pretty much am good for 2 days. It's like pretty.
This is all I hear.
Really
eat
great.
chocolate.
Eat chocolate.
If you have a problem, throw some chocolate at it.
Just eat chocolate. Good chocolate.
Eat chocolate. So I think those are the main thing. Website is always the best. I would say we do social media and some education and stuff like that there. But newsletter, I would say, is our strongest point of keeping in touch. And gonna start a YouTube channel with lots of questions answered really soon. And then there's also my TEDx from 2020. It's just like a good overview of the story and the why, but most of the things we covered already. And that's, I think, the best spot.
And in a couple of weeks, they can listen to the podcast and they'll learn that it's good for breakfast, and it's good for breakfast, and it's good for breakfast.
Exactly. You learned it all. That was pretty good for 1 hour. It's a lifetime. It's a life change.
It's a life changer for me. I'm very excited about this.
That's great. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on. And we'll have to thank Peter as well. That was really
that was really wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you guys. Yeah, it was fun to talk to you. Have an awesome day.
You too.
Take care. Bye, Mara.
Bye-bye.